The silly moments, the proud moments, even the hard moments. They're why Wellmark Blue Cross and Blue Shield is committed to making healthcare better, more affordable, with more choices for care, and peace of mind through it all. Because Blue is here for you.
Welcome to the Made in Iowa podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Fox, in the Iowa Everywhere studio. In the studio with me today, we have got Megan Aronson, who owns Aronson Woodworks, and John Callan, who has helped her make it to where she is. The conversation is absolutely amazing. And if you watched the episode with Stacy Syme and LifeServe, they're the ones that reclaimed the wood in Johnston for that facility. Stay tuned, share with your friends, and I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the Made in Iowa podcast. It is so great to have longtime friend John Callan. John is with Jennings Callan Advisors, and his client and amazing entrepreneur. We have got Megan Aronson with Aronson Woodworks. And Megan, we all heard and saw bits of your story when Stacy Syme with LifeServe was on. That's awesome. She's a huge fan. And after touring her facility, I became a huge fan. And for those of you that didn't, go back and watch the episode. Those of you that did, you will recall that there was a huge, almost forest where LifeServe now stands in Johnston. And Stacy and her board and the team at LifeServe were adamant that they do something meaningful with those trees that they harvested. Tell me how Stacy found you and how that process happened.
That is a great question. And yeah, I believe it was through the builder, Hanson.
Okay.
And Co. So
again, relationships.
Yep.
Yes.
Great people.
Yes. We had done projects, actually just up the road, the Johnston City Hall.
Yep.
We were able to use some reclaimed material, not from the job site, but reclaimed urban lumber that we had salvaged from the city, for furniture in there, and then also some decorative elements. And just through that experience, we were able to get to know the team, and they connected the dots with the architect on the headquarters for LifeServe. And
wow.
Yeah.
Talk about what role you played from the very beginning. So did you come in and observe the trees that were standing, decide which ones you wanted to reclaim, and work with the folks that removed them, and then had them hauled to your facility in Prohl?
Yeah, exactly. You laid it out perfectly.
Wow.
So we got a call from someone at Hanson, and I think that afternoon, Clay went to the job site, which is right around the corner from my parents' house. So we were really familiar with that location.
Oh, that makes it even more special, doesn't it?
Yeah, we get to drive by it all the time. And so he walked the property and was able to mark the trees that we really got just a brief synopsis of what they wanted to do. So he was able to, line up which trees would be best suited species-wise to what the ultimate end goal purpose would be. So conference table, a 20-foot conference table.
Which was gorgeous.
So cool. With the live edge. And yeah, it was a really special project, not just from the pieces we got to make, but because of who Stacy is. And I remember the architect, who's wonderful, wanted to, make sure she had all the options for the side tables that we ended up making. So he was having them quoted by somebody else, from just a manufacturer. And I remember an email going out saying, oh no. These are going to be Aronson, and they're going to be, made from the trees, which she had my heart.
Right?
Immediately, it was like,
there is no option.
Yeah. So
I love that. And
she's a real champion.
I want to showcase those benches when you walk in, because they are so unique. So as you walk in, and everybody should go give blood, by the way, we'll just start there. But you walk in the front entryway, and are there 3 of them?
Yep.
3 benches that you designed.
Yeah. Yeah. With the architect. I think he and Clay collaborated quite a bit.
Would you describe those? I did a horrible job when I tried to describe them. Would you describe them and how functional they are?
Yeah, they're very sculptural. And they are placed underneath a very industrial steel 2-story staircase with glass. And so they provide this soft, organic counterpoint to that architecture. And they were made from trees that I believe they were beech. Just a really rich sable brown wood. But when we had them, we milled them, dried them. They came out sort of looking like bacon, the slabs, which means they weren't super stable. So we ended up making them in these layers that have inset spacers in between. So they're, probably 12 layers of wood sandwiched with these contrasting black
spacers in between.
But the way Clay executed making them was mind-boggling to me. He ended up making them like butcher blocks. So he cut all of these bacony slabs into tiny little strips, and then he glued them back together in a rough shape of these organic forms, and then hand used a grinder and just got them all to be the same soft shape. And
they are absolutely exquisite. How much time do you think was spent on those 3 benches? It had to be,
I don't know,
a lot.
A lot. I think we had those, beyond just the milling and drying, the fabrication. I think they had those in the shop for about 3 weeks that they were
working on them.
So sorry, I keep hitting the microphone.
You're fine.
Talk with my hands too much.
I do the same thing. Okay, they're gorgeous. Out of that building, are those the things you're most proud of, or is there another piece that we don't know about that you go,
goodness.
oh my gosh?
That's like trying to say which kid are you most proud of? They're all extraordinary. We have had the just incredible opportunity to work with designers across the country who are really the gateway for us into extraordinary projects. And a lot of them have become really good friends. One in particular is Vern Yip. He was on Trading Spaces back in the 90s and 2000s. So he already had all this incredible network of business. And one of the jobs that he presented to us in the last few years was for the Grand Hotel.
Oh my gosh.
That historic hotel on, is it Mackinac or Mackinac? Some people pronounce it with the C at the end, and some people, Mackinac Island. And we have 72 pieces there.
Oh
and
my gosh.
Yeah. And it was extraordinary. He's just an incredible human being. Every time you're with him, you're like, I need to be more like Vern. You're just gifted with this being of kindness and generosity. And I'll never forget, it was the first 6 months we were on Instagram, and he messaged us, and I still didn't really know how to use Instagram. And I was like, well, what's this message? How do I find it? So I was laying in bed. It was like 9:30 at night. And I sat up and I was like, oh my gosh, I think Vern Yip just messaged us. Oh my gosh. I was like, this can't be real. But yeah, he was like, hey, I think what you're doing is really unique and special, and want to, call and talk about some things that I'm interested in. And 2 weeks later, Clay was driving pieces down to Florida for a project that was ultimately photographed and published.
Wow.
So.
And for those of you that want to be awed you should subscribe to their Instagram account. I'm going to mention this real quick before I forget. And it's Aronson, Aronson Woodworks, all one word, on Instagram. And you can see firsthand what we're talking about. You are artists, woodworking artists, and your joinery, from what I understand, is amazing. It's heirloom joinery, which makes it very special. But what I want to get into, because this is the Made in Iowa podcast, is you called it Claze. Mm-hmm. It is a special finish that goes on the wood, correct?
Yes.
Tell us what Claze is and why it's different than other glazes.
So we discovered that we could isolate the grain from solid wood, species like ash and oak that have an open grain pattern. We were able to lay down an opaque paint color for the base and then really bring out the natural grain movement with a second paint color. And we realized quickly, we can swap it out for anything and do custom colors. And in the world of interior design and furniture, there hadn't been a lot of innovation for quite a while in finishes. And I happened to be close friends with one of the senior art directors at Meredith for Traditional Home Magazine. We knew each other in a past life. And I reconnected with her and I said, hey, my husband started doing this finish and she would be the voice of authority. And we had lunch. I brought finish samples and she was like, this is definitely something. She just said, I've never seen this before and you should definitely patent it. So,
wow.
And our friends and family, everyone who was seeing what we were doing, everyone was giving us the same feedback.
All right. And I've already forgotten the connection. How, again, did you get connected to Chris Prosky, which will bring in John?
Yeah.
So how did you, find him?
I had taken a class at DMAC, I did the SCORE program because I had been working in retail for 14 years and then a stay-at-home mom for a year when we decided to go all in with furniture. And my mother, who's incredible, she and my dad are the backbone of all of our endeavors. She said, you should really do this program at DMAC because it'll give you'll learn words like cash flow.
That's a thing.
You'll maybe learn to read a profit and loss statement, Megan. Like, okay, Mom. So I did that. And one of the guest speakers or teachers was someone who had created a product that they had patented. And I pulled him aside after the class and just said, hey, I think we have a process. Everyone keeps telling us to patent it. So he introduced us to an attorney, and that attorney then referred us to Chris.
Wow. And you are sitting with Chris and going through all of the intellectual property options on the Claze. And you got to a point where you needed some help sourcing funding options, correct?
Yeah. I think, sometimes I'll just call Chris, and just cry. And say,
I think I'm going to try that. I'm going to call Chris when I'm sad.
Yeah. No, we were floored with, for the first, I think, 4 years, the revenue just kept doubling. And I remember sitting down with a friend who was stepping in as our fractional CFO at the time. And he said, well, what do you think you'll do next year? And I said, I can't fathom that we would double again. And sure enough, we did. And
Holy cow.
Had outgrown our little Morton building at our acreage, no bathroom, no running water. And we just needed to grow. We needed to hire people. We needed some better equipment.
I think this is a good opportunity to introduce the audience to Betty. So a lot of your work was done by poor Betty.
Betty worked so hard.
Talk about Betty.
She was a floor sander that would get our tabletops that we were gluing up, and I have photos of it down on the floor, and they're just going over those just to try to create some efficiency and not spend hours with an orbital getting everything prepped and ready for finish. So Betty is enjoying retirement somewhere. I'm not really sure where she ended up. That's terrible.
She's probably sanding floors in Maui.
Yeah.
Maui, Florida.
I think so.
Yeah, maybe Florida. I like
Somewhere
it.
warm.
Yeah. So part of the reason you were able to upgrade the equipment is, John, the work that you did for them. So enter John Callan. How did you step along Megan and Clay and help them get to where they are today?
Yeah, so our company, we help companies in Megan's similar position with growth capital. So we sort of peel back the onion, understand their funding needs, their business needs, where the pain points are in that business, and identify, funding options, both non-dilutive as well as, we do assist with
Explain to me what non-dilutive funding is.
grants or loans.
Okay.
So, and then the other type of funding is equity, where someone takes an ownership in
Okay.
the business. So we've been blessed in the state of Iowa. We have it's a great ecosystem. There's a lot of great partners, whether it's at Iowa Economic Development Authority, Iowa Area Development Group, the Warren County Economic Development, where Megan is based, Greater Des Moines Partnership.
And some of our energy companies too have a mandate for economic development.
The rural electric cooperatives, they administer some of the USDA funding programs. I could go on and on. So we've been really blessed. There's a great ecosystem with many partners, many layers, a lot of different programs that are available for companies to grow. And that's sort of where we stepped in and helped Megan identify sort of where her pain points were and identify which sort of pots of money, whether it's grants or low interest loans, we could access.
And there were several of them. One that you mentioned to me is the InnoVenture funding. What was that used for, and how difficult is that to get?
Yeah, all these programs, I warn sort of any businesses, anything is a competitive program, but obviously, if you have a business with a good story, a good management team, a good product, a good go-to-market strategy, you'll be successful in applying for some of these non-dilutive funds. So the InnoVenture Fund is administered by VentureNet. They're sort of the gatekeeper for that program. And then the funding comes from Iowa Economic Development Authority. So it's a formal application process. They put together a panel of peers, business advisors, attorneys. Chris Protsky's been on those panels. To screen the company. If they pass that initial screening panel, they get elevated to the full panel at the Iowa Economic Development Authority. If they get that approval there, then it goes to Director Durham for approval through the board. So,
wow.
And it's a sort of a milestone-driven program where you can keep going back depending on you establish the business milestones. If you meet those milestones, you can go back for additional funding.
And what are those chunks of money, John?
Yeah, there's POCR, which is $50,000, proof of commercial relevancy. There's a demo fund, which is $100,000. There's Propel 250. There's an expansion 500, and then there's $1 million. So,
and these are forgivable?
No.
Okay.
It's a loan, but favorable terms, favorable loan rate. There are some forbearance periods. The problem with a lot of early stage businesses is collateralization and security, personal guarantees, everything else. So these programs are favorable in that regard.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, when I asked Megan, what were some of the resources that you have leaned on through your growth? And she unequivocally, without any hesitation, said John Callan.
Yeah.
In fact, I want to bring him in with me.
Yes.
And so I think that what John and his firm have done for you is beyond just access to funds. Can you talk about how important the work that they have done has been?
Oh my gosh. Just to have someone in your corner at that fragile stage of really not, I still don't know what I'm doing, to be honest.
We won't tell.
Yeah. But at that early stage, you're trying to build the plane as you're flying it while not really knowing where you're going and what's happening. And just to have a steady, guiding hand, just saying, it's going to be great. We believe in you. and then also help you carry the load of just all the application process. That can be so onerous when you don't know what you're doing, or how do I answer this, or what should I put here? And he made that so seamless and easy. And just giving us the confidence. I don't think I would have had the confidence to
Wow,
go
that
for
is huge.
any of those programs without him.
Yep.
So,
ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Because you've been there, you've done it before, you know the pitfalls. What are some of the most catastrophic things that you've seen businesses do to sabotage themselves from getting some of this funding, John?
Well, we are lucky, knock on wood, not Aronson Woodworks. Why don't we have an Aronson Woodworks table in here? Hello.
Iowa everywhere. Come on.
Yeah. So we've been almost unilaterally successful in a lot of the funding programs, but I think, again, it's a testament to the ecosystem here. Our partners, whether it's at IEDA, Iowa Development Group, any of the funders, they want you to succeed. So if you're not ready to apply, they're
going to send you back.
They'll send you back to, again, I did have one client that went to apply for a demo, and they bumped his company down to a POCR, which is, 50,000. So again, it's not meant to be a super intimidating process.
Okay.
They have ways to screen the applicants before they get to that final touch point, decision making at the IEDA board. They have the informal panel at VentureNet. And if you're not ready, they'll not elevate you to the full board. So
I want to go back to one of the grants that you mentioned that highlights the important work that you're doing in reclamation, and that's the SWAP grant. Can you describe what the SWAP grant is? And then I want you to describe your sanctuary in Prole, because it all kind of works together for that ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a DNR swap loan. It does have a small grant portion, but it's a favorable interest loan, and it's administered by the Iowa Department of Natural Resources and funded through tipping fees, landfill tipping fees from the solid waste, collection agencies that pick up.
Tell me what a tipping fee is.
When they pick up the trash and deposit it in the landfills, they have to pay a fee to deposit it. So that fund is, and the whole purpose of it is landfill diversion, to keep stuff that can be repurposed, reclaimed, reused out of the landfill.
Wow.
So our firm works closely with a lot of companies. We've applied for a lot of swap program applications over the years. But the whole point is to help companies like Megan that can keep product out of the landfill. In this case, it was some of the emerald ash borer impacted trees, the ash trees. When we had that when it was first introduced to Iowa, probably about 5 years ago.
Oh,
Longer.
10, 11
Oh,
years
has
ago.
it? But it really, once it came here, then it was
yeah.
because I know I live in Johnson, they had to clear out all those trees yeah.
So explain what you did then to bring those down to Prole, and how you are still using those emerald ash borers.
Yeah. So I reached out to the forestry department, and they were so receptive to the idea of trying to salvage what we could. And they connected us to the tree removal companies that were awarded the contracts. So we just exchanged numbers and gave them parameters of, if you've got trees that are roughly this dimension, we'll pay you a sort of flat fee to bring them down to us.
Wow.
So that's how they were able to.
How many trees did you end up with? Do you remember?
Oh, probably close to 300. I wish there could have been more.
Wow.
But
And you're still using the wood, correct?
yeah, there's still a lot in log form. So we
Okay.
haven't milled hardly any of it, actually. We do a lot of, we will mill it and keep the live edge. So it still has that story. And the grain pattern of that reclaimed lumber is also really cool. It's very chaotic. Very, there's cracks and knots and tons of character. So Clay and I, we love every time someone specifies that style, because it tells the story of a tree that had to grow up in an environment where there was like lighting 24 hours a day and just, yeah.
Oh, how
really
cool. Talk about the process that you go through when a client comes to you with an idea. Mm-hmm. I am not creative, and it's very hard for me to describe things in a clear, articulate way.
Same.
How do you draw that out and end up with the product they were looking for in the beginning?
Yeah, I credit my, I guess when I worked in retail, it was a really lovely experience. It was very high end. And I would play this sort of game with they'd walk in the first like 5 seconds, I would already have, the top 10 things I wanted them to try on.
Oh, I would have driven across the world for you.
So it was something I loved to be able to, provide options and dress them that way. And so there's quite a parallel to what we're doing.
I bet there is.
So knowing that we work through the design trade. So a lot of our clients are actually the designers of the clients who end up with our furniture.
Okay.
So we'll get, if, we get an email or I get to hop on the phone, if it's, a lot of them are on the East Coast. So a lot of them are working in coastal homes or they lean very modern. But because I was, posting to Instagram, I was then able to start absorbing and following these designers and absorbing their aesthetic. And we started with a very, linear waterfall shape. Some people call it a person shape. And a lot of designers that we were selling to were embracing a more sculptural, soft silhouette in woodworking, in furniture. And so I will credit myself
Woo!
for telling my husband.
I bet that doesn't happen very often, by the way.
Thank you. But I feel like absorbing that visual information, I was able to bring that back to the company to say, let's try to soften those corners a little bit. Can we start rounding them? Can we start rounding the edges?
And they probably didn't even think it was possible.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like, we've got to get this router bit. And I'm like, get the bit. Let's go.
Right. Yeah.
Come on. And it led to, conversations. Clay who will haunt our marriage, that I would sell things like our pool noodle table. I was talking to a designer in Chicago and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if the legs looked like pool noodles? No. And she was like, done, sold. So go
back into Clay's office.
Like,
Can you build this?
I need you to make pool noodle legs. He's like, what are you talking about? I've already sold it. So.
And he's like, how did you price that, honey?
Yeah. Like, don't worry about it.
We don't need to worry about the price.
Yeah. And so we've evolved. And I think having a more feminine viewpoint, looking at that and just, again, absorbing the different aesthetics that designers who are able to work with clients that are at this price point, what they're embracing, and not stay ahead of it, because I think that's impossible.
You can't.
But just to take it in, reinterpret it in our way and put it out there is really fun. So a lot of them will ask, what are you working on that's new or what's coming through? And sometimes if I don't have anything, I'll just sit with them for a minute and be like, well, what can I make Clay crazy with? So not really, but sort of.
There are so many opportunities for you to innovate in this industry and to grow into all sorts of things. I'd like you to think 6 months, a year from now, the things that are going on and the changes that you're making. And then I want you to cast your mind 5 years from now and think about what Aronson Woodworks looks like then.
I'll do that one first, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I actually have been spending a lot of time on that because do you ever just get hit with a wave of, oh my gosh, I'm 45 or like whatever? You're just like.
That's pretty young.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
John and I are going,
You know what? Like all of a sudden.
I was at his 50th and that's been a minute.
A long time ago.
I just get these waves of like, you know what? We don't have that much time to do any, like,
Goes fast.
yes.
It does go fast.
And then when you think this is such a special group of people, of talent that we have under our roof, and it's so finite. And so for me, I think about, when I cast my net out, it's like, I want to see how many different creative ways we can incorporate the finish. So lighting, for example, it would be so beautiful to see it interpreted into lamp bases and forms. And then, we're about to soft launch upholstery. So blending textures and fabrics with the finish and giving designers a whole new sandbox to.
So Megan, upholstery is a whole other skill set and talent that you need to embed in your organization. Have you started that process? Are there people there that already know how to do that?
So that we're in a little bit of a desert in Iowa when it comes to upholstery workrooms. Out on the coast, they've got quite a few to pick from. But I did find one just down the road that we've got our first prototypes in the shop. In my perfect world, we would envelop it and have it under the same roof, but it's such a it's its own trade.
Right.
So I think it only makes
So in the
sense.
short term, you'll outsource that.
Yeah.
And then longer term. And then, John, I want to cast it to you. As you look at the operation and you cast your mind ahead, what do you see for them and what do you see them becoming?
Yeah, I think to Megan, how she sort of teed it up, continued diversification, the small product, the upholstery launch. I mean, in this space, as Megan can speak more eloquently about it, you're always trying to evolve, develop new product lines, new offerings, diversification of offerings, so that you can ride the waves, in the market.
Right.
Yeah.
And level out those revenues. That's one of the things that I asked you before we came on air is the fear that comes with entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And I said, how do you forecast revenues? You said it just keeps doubling.
Well, we peaked. We don't double every year over year anymore. No, I think what we've recognized, once we were able to move entirely out of the shop on our acreage and all under the same roof, our landlord, who's amazing, doubled the square footage for us. So all of a sudden our overhead overnight, once we,
Flip the light.
Yes.
Yep.
So the challenge there was to understand how to maximize the space and our talent that we had been spending years building. So we're at a place now where we're finally able to create not manufacturing lines, but just small batches of the same thing.
Nice.
So, with custom, every single order that goes through takes an enormous amount of babysitting and
Brain power.
to make sure every detail, because if it's an inch off, these clients are paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for it to be just the way they ordered it.
Right.
And we want to exceed expectations every time. So to balance that really high maintenance workflow with something that, it is not quite so, not that it's not handmade, but the size is the same.
Not as unique.
Yeah, but
maybe.
It
will be unique.
It will, but it's just opening up sort of prepackaged options for people to snag. And I would love to see our work expanded beyond the United States. We just recently shipped to Canada. Awesome. I would love to create a client base in the UK,
Very
in
cool.
Europe, because we will still get messages from woodworkers overseas who are just baffled by what the finish is. So that's cool. I love seeing those.
Do you ever see yourselves selling the Claze separately on its own and manufacturing that?
So I've gotten that question quite a few times. And it's a layered process of paint and varnish.
Okay.
So it's not
So it's an
something-
entire process.
It's an entire process.
Okay.
It takes a week and a half to finish a tiny little serving board or a week and a half to finish a 10-foot table. So it's a beast.
Gotcha. And there are very few people that would do it the way it would need to be done to be perfect and create the product that you do.
It feels different. Like when you run your hand over it, it feels like
Silk.
You can
suede.
feel the grains. Yeah, it's cool.
It's just
I have 2 side tables in my master bedroom. So
yeah. So
Nice.
It's just and I even had a woodworker. I can't recall from where he said, you know what? I cracked the code. I figured out how to do it, but I'm never going to do it again. So,
and your husband's background, let's get into that just a little bit, and your background so that we have some context as to how you got here.
sure. My husband graduated from Iowa State with a degree in architecture, and he was adamant that he didn't want to sit at a desk. And
I feel him.
and he grew up on a farm. His mom, I have to credit her with probably instilling a love of craft, because he would talk about how his mom would do craft. She was kind of like the daycare for their community. Cool. So she would do crafts with the kids and just instilling that love of being creative. And his dad was growing up, they were raising hogs, and he really enjoyed the process of raising them from birth to, and so at everything Clay does, he wants to be involved on the tiniest granular level from the beginning to the end. So there's a really cool through line of where he was raised, how he was raised, to what he's doing now. But yeah, we met at Iowa State, and he didn't want to be an architect. And at that time, I was at the clothing store, and I had a client who was opening, it's called RVP 1875, shout out, Bobby. It's a working museum. He was actually with the, help me, perimenopause has struck again.
Oh, I feel you. Happens all the time.
Living History Farms.
Living History Farms.
So it was like that, but
Okay.
in a shop that they were building and selling furniture. Everything was made hand planed. They were boiling walnuts to create their own stain. They were using, felling their own trees or taking trees that had been felled by nature and milling it, drying it. And so he was, and all of that was made authentic to, the 1800s when people were coming, settling the land, and they needed things that were sturdy and would stand up for generations. So it was that soul that he carried into how we're making the furniture now. So
I love it.
But yeah, that's really his background. And then he was, that job just didn't pay very much. Mm-hmm. And so his loans kicked in. And he was like, I gotta go.
Happens to the best of us. Yeah.
So he started his own remodel company. And I was able to refer him to a lot of clients of mine that were in need of a good, reliable handyman. And then he just grew it into a pretty good remodeling business. But during that process, clients would find out his true passion, which was furniture making. So they would commission a dining table or a coffee table. And one of them ended up having him do her whole house in Clive in Country Club. And she's an angel. And so he was able to really expand and he even made her front door. So the two climates of the interior and exterior.
Wow.
So yeah, and then during that process, he started tinkering with the finish, which has its origins in cerusing, if there are any woodworking.
Cerusing, I learned, is Cerusing, and it's a French term.
Yes. So it's hundreds and hundreds of years old, and they would, exasperate the grain of oak, and then they would go back and fill that with like a lime wash. So it kind of looks like a whitewash. So those were the origins of it, and he just wondered if he could lay down an opaque color and then a second one and really isolate the grain. So.
Wow. And here you are.
Yeah.
If there are individuals who are interested in contracting with you to build some wonderful furniture, how do they get a hold of you? What's your lead time? And what does that look like?
Yeah, so lead times are 8 to 12 weeks right now. That can fluctuate just depending on the season. But I would, if they're wanting a really bespoke piece, I would talk to some of the interior designers in town because we do not specialize in spatial planning.
Sure.
Where, if you're going to invest in a custom piece of furniture, it's so nice to have a professional who can measure your space and help you pick out which finish and to go with your chairs or the lighting. And there's just so many things.
So the best process is to go to your interior designer, have your interior designer design it.
Yeah, they can pick from something we've already done and just customize it to their space.
Got it.
That's how I always recommend to offer people the experience that might benefit them the best.
And I will circle back to their Instagram account.
Yes.
So again, Aronson Woodworks is the name, all one word. And you will see things that will just amaze you every day. You're constantly posting, and it's absolutely exquisite. So, and if you want to touch it, there's an easy way to do that. You just go give blood.
That's right.
Right? Go see Stacy.
Or vote at City Hall in Johnson.
That's
really?
Right.
All right. The City Hall.
The City Council chambers.
Okay. Yeah. I'd love to go see that too. Yeah. Awesome. Anything you want to leave with the audience?
No, thank you for this opportunity. Yeah, I'm super excited to showcase a great company, innovative company made in Iowa, selling their products around the world. So.
Yeah. Megan, congratulations. I know how hard and scary it is. And it feels like you've come out on the other side, and you're such an inspiration to others that are in the same boat. So there are so many. And John, I thank you for coming in and informing me on what you actually do.
That's
because
right. You find out 20 years later. Yeah.
All these years, I didn't quite know. Now I know. And I'm excited to actually refer you to others because you have so much capacity.
Great. Well, thank you.
You betcha. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Made in Iowa. Subscribe, like, and share wherever you listen. Catch episodes weekly from the Iowa Everywhere studio on the BPC streaming network.